if you can start entering your trades at a spot where you're pretty sure you're wrong quickly, that's when the game really opens up. You can start trading bigger. So there's so many people online who talk about how to trade gaps, earnings, this and that. And I don't talk a lot about that because it's a very personal thing. It's kind of like telling someone how to handle a situation or how their personality should be formed. And there's obviously best practices, but it's kind of your own art. This is everyone's art who's listening or doing it, never listening. It doesn't matter. It's your own journey. So you have to go out, try a lot of things, see what doesn't work, figure out your system. So, but my focus is always on the other stuff. It's how do you get out of the drawdown? How do you stay focused on what you're good at? How do you treat it more? How do you not beat yourself up and be grinding away when it's not the right time? All that stuff. So today is an important one. And I think it's entering where you know you're going to be wrong pretty quickly. And you can trick yourself into thinking you have that figured out by a chart. I don't think that's always the best way. So an example would be, say I want to buy, when it's busy, I trade the index. I talked about that. And when it's, and I don't do a lot of stocks because then there's too many things to manage. When it's more normal, not March or April of this year, for example, I'll be doing more stocks. So let's just say I'm trading the index. It's busy. I want to buy. And a lot of this is experience just watching it for, 15, 18 years or whatever, having an idea of where a good area might be. But assuming you can figure that out with technicals or whatever you're using, you think you have an area where you can buy. When it's busy, a good way to look at it is if I buy these and I'm wrong, where am I going to puke? And that's the area where you want to be getting in a lot of times. It's the area right where you think you're probably no longer right, but you might be right, but you have to puke because you bought maybe a tougher spot that's not good. That's the area where you want to put on your trade. If you can put on trades at that area, oftentimes you can add to the trade at the original area you wanted to put on, and it feels a lot better. And you start to trust yourself that you can get in somewhere and really control your risk. It's hard to trade big if you're buying, an area where you can't control that loss. It's a huge part of it. So for me, a lot of times I'll have a setup and I'll think, it's going down for whatever reason this morning. I think it needs to take out some stops and it's going down on some news that I think is kind of stupid, but it's going down. So when it starts to blow those stops out and come back up, if I'm right, there's going to be a retest or an area where, if I didn't chase the up bar and I bought that retest, that's an area where it really should hold there or else I'm probably not correct. And if I can keep buying those areas, it starts to build inner trust where there's no fight or flight, there's no panic to my entry. There's just, okay, this is the spot. And you could do that with anything, any earnings gaps, day trades, swing trades, it doesn't matter. But getting that spot is really important. And oftentimes it's going to be the spot that you think you're probably about ready to be stopped out. And that's often where you need to get in. And I reverse engineer it that way a lot of times. And it'd be nice for me to tell you exactly how to figure that out, but a lot of it is just experience of watching tons of charts, tons of setups. You get really intimate with how they act and you start to figure those spots out. But it's kind of back to that. If you do this 1,000 times, are you going to be in business? And if the answer is no, then don't do it one time. And I think that's a super important concept. And I've talked to some other good traders about it, and it just keeps coming up again and again as you evolve in this world that's the next level so the first level is, okay, here's all these technicals, here's how a market works, how do I use my system, all that stuff. And then the next level after about a year is the psychology thing, which lasts your whole life, which is your own behavioral patterns and what trips you up and learning from it and really understanding why you're doing certain things. Where are you prone to risk? Where are you better? And kind of just building a system around that, knowing your personality. But more tactically within that is I trust myself that when I get into something, I'm in an area where it's kind of a make or break. And it's very hard when you believe in a move up or down to wait for that area. But oftentimes if you do, it really pays off. And that's how you build confidence and build size. So when a lot of times what I'll do is if I can't help myself, I'll buy like a fourth of my position and I'll let it come down and I'll put the rest on at that good area. And that'll help me kind of get rid of some of that impulsive behavior and still stick with the idea. And then oftentimes I'll add when it comes back to that original area. So that's kind of how I like to massage my trades and get in and out and feel the market a little bit that way, especially when it's moving faster. But really consider what everyone else is doing and where it might be broken, but maybe not so broken. And that's your area. However you figure that out, it could be technicals or whatever. A lot of times for me, it's old order flow areas where the news came out. We come back down. We went up on the news. We come back down. I think it's really important news, but everyone sees it. So it gets everybody out, blows out everyone who bought it, and then kind of sits there and tries to go down again. And that's my area because it shouldn't go down anymore. And then it goes up. And that's the area where I know that tries to go down again at the end area where, okay, we need to hold here. And that's kind of how I think about it. So that's one thing to have in your head when you're trading is really being persnickety about getting in where the loss is minimal, because that's how you move bigger size around. It's hard to do otherwise because you just can't. You can get away with a lot when you're trading very small, but when you start moving it up, it's hard. So you build the right way from the beginning.